Hello guys. So I love JavaScript, but I could describe my relationship with JavaScript as a hate-love relationship because sometimes you think you have figured things out and you feel really confident in your skills, and then next time you learn that something that you had thought you knew doesn't work as expected. So this week I figured out that object cloning doesn't really work the way I thought it does. So let me show you what I mean. So you have a user object here, right? You have the name, the age, roles, and another nested properties here with the bio, the date of birth, images. So let's say I want to clone this user object so that I can have a copy of the object that I can make changes on without modifying my original user object here, right? So I can say declare another object here. Let's call it cloned user, right? So one of the ways that I always use, which is the shortest way to clone an object, I just use the spread operator. So I just open a new object and then I spread the user object inside. So now we have a copy of the user object that we can make changes on, right? So if we log both objects here, so we have the cloned user object, so which is the cloned user, and then we have the user object. Let me fix this. So if we log both objects, you can see that both objects are identical, right? So the same properties that are in our original user object are in our cloned user object. So let's say I want to make changes to my cloned user object here. So I want to say change the name. So I do cloned user dot name. Let's call this person Jane, right? And then let's change something else. Yeah, let's say give them also a new age. We say 22 years, right? So if I save this and I log both values, you'll realize that we have been able to change the values of our cloned user object here, and it has not affected the original object. So here's where I got caught. So using the spread operator to clone object has one minor inconvenience, and that is it clones one level deep. So changing values at the top level work. So our top level here is the name, age, and roles. Our other nested level here is the profile, bio, and then we have a third nested level here at the images. So let's try to change the date of birth here, right? So if I do cloned user dot profile dot bio dot date of birth, so let's set this to another date, so something like 2001, right? So this user was born in 2001. So if we log the objects, you'll realize one thing. So the name and age have changed, right? But look at our nested date of birth here. The original user object is reading the new date of birth that we have just assigned to the cloned user object. So we are modifying the original object when we are modifying the cloned object. So first of all, it's so stupid that it works this way, but we can't do anything about it. This is how it works. So you may get unexpected values in your code when you use this method to clone objects. So if you didn't know this, you're going to pull your hairs out trying to figure out why your user object is being mutated while you are mutating the cloned user object. So it's a very dangerous method of cloning objects. So how do you fix this? Well, these are two methods you can fix this. One is you can use JSON.parse and JSON.stringify. So you can do JSON.parse and then JSON.stringify our user object. So we stringify the object, convert this user object into a string, and then we pass it. That way our cloned user object will be a new object completely. So if we try to test this, you'll see that it works. So our date of birth remains unchanged, but our name and age are changed. So this can fix your situation, but with JavaScript, there's always a catch. So if you're using other data structures like sets and maps, they won't get cloned properly. So let's say our roles here are using a set data structure. So let's make this a set like that. So if we try to log the values, you can see the original values have the set object here. The roles are set properly. But if you look at our cloned object here, the set is converted to an empty object. So it's not properly cloned. So that is because JSON.stringify actually runs to string on all these values of the object. So data structures like a new set will be converted to a string, which is just an empty object. A new date here will be converted to a string also, and not a date object. So this method will work, but only on simple objects with no data structures like sets and dates and maps. So how do you fix that? Well, there's a third method you can use to clone an object that takes care of all those cases. So that is structured clone. So you can replace that with the structured clone function, and let's test how it will look. So with structured clone, you realize that our sets are cloned perfectly. Updating values of the cloned object do not affect the parent object. So like our date here that you have updated does not affect the parent date object. So if you're going to clone objects, use the structured clone function. So this works on all modern browsers and all modern Node.js versions. But this doesn't mean that it can clone everything, right? So like if we had a function here, say get name that returns this dot name, and we try clone it by a structured clone, it won't work. So structured clone does not work on function. But if you use our JSON dot pass method where we stringify the user object, you'll realize that the cloning will work, but the functions will be removed from the cloned object. So JSON.stringify removes functions. So you'll get a cloned object without the functions. So if you don't need the function, you can use the JSON.pass method. Otherwise, the best way to clone object is via the structured clone method, where you'll get all the objects properties and their types just as they were, and you'll be able to modify them without modifying the parent. So I hope I saved you that headache in this video. JavaScript is so weird, but that's why we love it. No, I don't think we love it. We stuck with it. It's the language of the web. So thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.